What's up, Flick fans? Welcome back to the channel. I'm excited for June, that's great, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about May, daggone it.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Saw quite a few TV shows and movies, a lot of which I didn't talk about on this channel, so today we're going to debate, try to figure out a ranking, put them all on a tier list, and if you guys enjoy this series and you like these every month, dropping that thumbs up's the best way to let me know, as well as recommendations for maybe different tier lists in the future. I don't know. Also, we started a podcast called Movie Mode this month, and I can't say thank you enough to everyone that has supported that. So episode 2 is dropping on Monday on the YouTube channel and all podcasting platforms. Thanks for your support. We have some fun surprises in store, but let's get through these movies. We're going to start with Garfield, another Garfield film. This time it's not live action CGI, it's animated, and it's Chris Pratt. Is he Mario? No. Is it Lego Movie? No. Is it Onward? No.
Another one. Another one.
Wait here, Junior. I'll be right back.
My biggest topic with Garfield was the fact that it's not really a family movie, meaning I don't know if it's going to appeal as much to families as some Pixar and Disney and DreamWorks movies. It's more of one for the kids. And if the kids need one and you want to take them and you're like, let's turn my brain off for an hour and a half, fine. That's cool. That's what Garfield feels like. Here's the thing. My daughter, she's not old enough for this, so I went into the theater by myself and I didn't really respond to anything other than the emotional backstory at the beginning and his relationship with his dad. Even the voice acting was fine. Samuel L. Jackson's fine. Chris Pratt's fine, but nothing about Garfield stands out, and they took away some of that charm and quirkiness and replaced it with a heist movie. And I don't go to Garfield to see a heist. That's not why I showed up. So, yeah, I'm not saying it's not going to work for kids, but from my perspective, I have to put it on the bad tier. Oopsie.
What if I told you imaginary friends are real?
Austin, what are you in your Ebenezer Scrooge era? Yeah, I guess that's what we're doing, because the next family film we're talking about is If, and If is imaginary friends coming to life. Ryan Reynolds' character obviously is at the forefront of the trailers and marketing, but it's sweet and somewhat charming. The idea on paper is actually a fantastic one. A lot of people comparing it to Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. It's kind of like that. The execution's a lot different. John Krasinski directs this. It's very different from something like A Quiet Place. That's where I think he should live as a director. But I can say I appreciate the passion on display. He was very passionate about this project. That's awesome. He has kids. He made this movie for his kids, and a lot of audiences responded to it. When a movie does that, and it kind of did that, delivered on my modest expectations, but doesn't bring anything new to the table, doesn't switch up the journey in a way that felt compelling, and I, for one, had some issues with the fact that none of the imaginary friends got really any depth in the movie, and even some of the live-action characters, I felt a lack of a connection, even though the story is compelling, and it starts out on a Pixar's up level in terms of emotions, which was awesome, and it was beautiful. I personally found it to be a little conventional and somewhat boring, and so, again, you know, I feel like a curmudgeon-y old man. I'm going to put it on the meh tier, but I could see how families would absolutely enjoy this one.
Liar!
How about Sasquatch Sunset? Jesse Eisenberg and Riley Keough, but that doesn't matter. They could have cast my grandma in this role, and it would have been awkward because of some of the scenes in this movie, but it doesn't matter because it's just a bunch of Sasquatches doing stuff. That's literally the entire film. I kid you not. You think I'm making this up? I'm not. I've seen it. I'm not crazy.
This is a load of barnacles.
Admittedly, there's some raunchy humor in here that I actually thought worked. The Sasquatch playing pranks on each other and the way that they interact, which was really fun for about 20 minutes. And after about 20 minutes of this, I'm just like, okay, I feel like I've seen all I needed to see. And I felt that way a lot this year. So, again, I'm in my Scrooge era. I'm sorry. Is that how the kids say it? The era?
How do you do, fellow kids?
It's actually a recurring theme in 2024. A movie that has a great idea and it lasts about 20 to 30 minutes and works, right? But after a while, I just felt like I've seen all there is to see with Sasquatch Sunset. There was a bit of charm with the way that they interacted, and you're getting to see how a Sasquatch would act or could act if they actually existed. That's the charm, but it's a lot of like raunchy, dirty things. You're seeing him do things, the other ones are watching him do things. Haha, it's funny. It actually was funny. and I giggled at some of these moments. But the cast really doesn't matter. It goes on, and it started to wear me down after a while. And so because of that, and just being ready to give up on this one about halfway through, I'm going to put Sasquatch Sunset on the bad tier. I did not respond to the length.
That's what she said.
3, 2, 1. Lift off. Lift off.
Unfrosted. We're starting out really negative today. That was not my intention, but hey, that's the way it worked out. Jerry Seinfeld came out recently and he was like, I miss humor. I miss funny, joke. And we just don't get it nowadays because of cancel culture and some people that don't take humor seriously. Now, there are parts of that statement that I agree with. To a certain level, not going overboard, obviously, people do get too offended nowadays. If someone's joking about me and they're joking, then yeah, it's probably funny because look at me. Come on. All that being said, his statement was like, all right, man, well, then make a good comedy. I don't know what you just make a good comedy in Unfrosted. He didn't do it. He didn't make a good comedy. He made a ridiculous, insane, over-the-top mess that, yes, had some references to the time period. That was the biggest comment on that video. Like, Austin, you don't get the references. You didn't live during that time. Sure, I didn't get some of the references, but if it's not funny, it doesn't matter. Even if I would have completely understood all of the references in the movie, it's not funny. And so who cares if you give me a reference or two? Some of my favorite movies of all time are 70s, 80s comedies. So sure, I don't get every reference in those films, but they're hilarious. And the ones that I do get are awesome. And Unfrosted tried to go for that. At a point, it became the shtick of Unfrosted, but I just wasn't laughing. And so it's a poorly written, at times poorly acted film with some characters and then some actors in there, and like Amy Schumer.
No, don't like that.
I thought Jim Gaffigan was good. Hugh Grant was funny. Heck, Melissa McCarthy was pretty good at times in this movie. And conceptually, if you laughed, you probably liked it. I didn't. Therefore, Unfrosted's going on the bad tier. There's a trend here. Actually, let's put it on the awful tier because it's significantly worse than those other two.
Wait a minute, stop! You're gonna ruin the end of the movie.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I need something to lift my spirits here. Let's talk about Pool Man. Hopefully, Pool Man will get me in a better mood. Pool Man.
Son of a bitch!
Now, the movie stars and is directed by Chris Pine. In episode 2 of the Movie Mode podcast, dropping on Monday, Ryan and I rank our favorite Chris's in Hollywood. The Big Four. We're trying to decide the best. And in that episode, I make strong cases for Chris Pine and how amazing and how talented this guy is. He's phenomenal. This is a miss. And I'm not even saying he's that bad performance-wise in the movie. It's the direction, it's the writing, it's the script, and how uncompelling a lot of these characters were. And the movie centers and revolves around a guy who's obviously a pool man, but he's just trying to make his city a better place to live, and it's very LA heavy. And there's a lot of references to LA. LA this, LA that, a location, a way of life, and I'm just like, that doesn't resonate with me. I don't get it. Again, we're coming back to the reference thing. A lot of those in there that a lot of people are going to care about, I could have cared less. And so he was clearly making this movie for some very specific people, providing us plenty of references and moments and even lines of dialogue from other movies that clearly resonate heavily, classic films that resonate with Chris Pine. But again, including those things in something like Pool Man, you have to give us a quality script and a quality story. And unfortunately, it's just a really awkward movie. And he's giving an awkward performance, not a bad one.
Are you sure about that?
But one more, I look at him and I'm thinking, you thought you were onto something here, and this movie thinks it's smarter than it actually is, but it's not. And so watching it did nothing for me. I was not moved emotionally. I couldn't connect to any of these characters. And the cast is amazing. Clancy Brown, DeWanda Wise, Annette Bening, Danny DeVito, Chris Pine, wasted. And so because all of those things were wasted, I'm putting the Pool Man on the bad tier. It does not change my opinion of Chris Pine.
How did you guys meet? We need to know the story.
We met at Coachella. Hi.
Hi.
How about the idea of you, Nicholas Galitzine? Galazang.
He has such a way with words.
He's just cast as He-Man, a little random. That's pretty cool, though. Anne Hathaway's in this movie, and it's about a girl that falls for this rock star. Now, he's a lot younger, and she's a little bit older, and so the period in which they are in their lives, it shouldn't really allow them to connect, but they do. And so, yeah, it's a romantic comedy. It's all about where people are in their lives and how they find each other, how they inevitably fall in love. It's got convention and cliche after cliche and convention. And there were moments in this film where I'm like, it's struggling to find its way and it's kind of stumbling to the finish line. But there are other moments where they display great chemistry and there's some nice emotional moments. And I'm like, I'm actually kind of enjoying this. And I know it doesn't have the best scores, but this is one of those, if you know what you're in for and you are the target audience, you're probably going to really like it. And for that, I thought it worked. It did its job. Hathaway's great. Not a game changer, but Michael Showalter is a good director. I believe this one was on Amazon if you want to go find it on Prime Video. And I'm going to put The Idea of You on the OK tier. Look at this. We're getting better.
I want people to hear my voice.
Amy Winehouse, the extraordinary singer that, as we know, passed away years ago, and she's portrayed by Marissa Abella in Back to Black, which is taking a look at the early phase of her life, the early stages, and the making of this very first album that culminated in her rise to stardom. And so it's a portion of her life, but it's also obviously going to take a look at the things that led to what ended up happening to her. And so we get some sad moments, we get some emotional moments, but we also get a really awkward story. And I knew from the trailer, the very first trailer, that there are going to be some things about this movie that they didn't rub me the wrong way, but I'm just like, it just feels mishandled and misportrayed. And you got some good performances. Jack O'Connell, now she's good most of the time. There are some times where she's on stage and it comes across as kind of a caricature of Amy Winehouse instead of Amy Winehouse, and she's singing some of the songs. That's really cool how you're trying to do this, but a lot of it came across as awkward. And this is such an important story, an important figure in a lot of people's lives and what ultimately happened to her, which is devastating and sad. And this movie takes a darker turn at points. I just didn't feel captivated like I should have with a movie about Amy Winehouse and the ins and outs of her life. I wasn't captured emotionally. And so I found this to be a fine time, but ultimately one that felt awkward and somewhat jumbled with its story. And so Back to Black goes on the bad tier for me. It ultimately it didn't work. Oh, Austin, you're a negative Nancy. Well, you do this then. Ugh.
I know this might sound crazy. I don't want to alarm you. Do you remember a TV show we used to watch together?
I saw the TV glow. Now, I talked about this at length. I had a review where I tried to dive into as much detail as I could, and I watched this film twice. I went back to try to find something within it that I knew was there, and I still think is there, yet I ultimately wasn't able to come up with something that I really, really resonated with in this film, because this is a movie about people who find solace in things that some people find unconventional. In this case, he finds solace in this television show that these older girls introduce him to, and that's their connection, their bond that they share. And ultimately, our director is telling a story through that lens that feels and should feel unconventional in nature. It's a very artistic movie. It's A24. It feels like A24. The visuals are stunning. The effects are awesome. I saw the TV glow. There is a glow to this movie. But I still wasn't able to connect to the story. The first time around, the second time around, it moves at its own pace, one that I didn't really respond to, and the structure is just so unconventional that it doesn't ultimately work for me. And maybe that's because my journey is so distinctly different from this movie that it's just not able to hit me and resonate with me. But I really did try, man. I went back because I knew there was something there, something that maybe I was missing, just wasn't able to resonate with it. So I saw the TV glow is fascinating. It's interesting. Conceptually, it should work, but there's something about the execution I'm not able to respond to. And so I'm going to put it on the meh tier, one of the lesser A24 movies for me, personally.
12 cards in the circle. One more at the heart. With this final card,
Next up, we have two really cliche horror movies. We'll try to move through these quick. Tarot, Carrot.
Stop it. Get some help.
These friends are really stupid, and they unleash this evil by playing with these cards that they know they're not supposed to play with. And we've seen this premise done well, a similar-ish premise last year in Talk to Me, which was a bunch of stupid people doing stupid things. But that story was terrifying. That movie had some amazing scares and was unconventional with how it handled it, but in an entertaining way. This film is all of that but the opposite, meaning they do all of these things and take all these stupid people and make them make stupid decisions, but it's not really all that scary. It's not really all that fun, and you're constantly in this movie like, why are you Stop it! It's not stop it.
Stop it.
I do like Jacob Batalon, though. He's always entertaining. Now, I'm going to group these together.
Hear what?
The silence. It's nice.
The Strangers Chapter 1 is also a movie about stupid people making stupid decisions. Now, oftentimes you need that in horror movies. Sometimes you want somebody walking into the deep, dark basement by themselves, and you're like, why are you doing this? I kind of want you to do it because I kind of want to see what happens, but why are you doing this? But in these two movies, it feels like everyone's dumb. Everyone's dumb and making dumb decisions, and they just keep doing the thing that they know they're not supposed to do, but they're doing it anyway. And even in Carrot, it's kids doing it. Well, in The Strangers, it's adults doing it. It's adults making the dumb decisions. And this is essentially a remake of that very first Strangers film, which I found some unconventional ways of handling this very cliche storyline. That was entertaining. And while this movie has entertaining moments, it's entertaining in a way of, well, you're just kind of laughing at the characters and what they're doing. And why are you doing that? It's so silly. And it took The Strangers Chapter 1 like 45 minutes of useless backstory to even start entertaining me. Why am I wasting my time with this movie? Everything is mishandled in this film. And I would say both of these films, while having similar issues, distinctly different, but they're not good.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
I didn't want to be too mean here, but I will never even consider revisiting these films, so I'm just going to throw them both on the awful tier. I mean, these are two of the worst horror movies this year. Not great. Hey, here's another one. Just talked about it on the channel. In a Violent Nature. The movie that tells the story from the slasher's perspective, and that concept is spectacular. Unfortunately, once again, reoccurring theme here, like Sasquatch Sunset, it runs out of steam after about 25 minutes. And instead of providing us a really interesting backstory and giving us context through the way these other people are talking, which they do that, right? But it's not very interesting. The performances, they're not very good. The pacing really struggles here. And I've seen some comparisons. Oh, look at it like a Perfect Days instead of a, Freddy Krueger type movie. Okay, all right. But even then, it moves so slowly. And I could not get invested in this backstory that is being revealed to us in an interesting way because of those performances, because of the useless dialogue, and the fact that it just doesn't really have anything to offer after the first 25 minutes other than some amazing kills. Now, as a slasher, pure slasher, this works in those moments because it gives you one kill specifically. It's like an all-time kill. It was incredible. And I'm like, this is what I signed up for. Why is the rest of the movie so boring? And I just couldn't really get invested. So I respect this film, and I respect the filmmakers for making it in the first place and delivering some iconic kills. But the rest of the movie didn't work. And so because of that, I'm going to put this one, another horror movie, on the meh tier.
Hear about what's going on at the gas station?
What's that?
Sorry, but our gas pumps are dry. I'm waiting on the fuel truck to show up.
Finally, thank God, we've been blessed to have a movie that's worth talking about. It warrants our time. Yeah, baby, we're past the mediocre. We finally got the good stuff. I'm so sick of it.
You're really weird.
The Last Stop in Yuma County. I was so excited to watch this very small, low-budgeted film, small filmmaker, some really talented people in there. Jim Cummings specifically, I'm very fond of him. We've had some conversations in real life. He's a great guy, but he's really good in this movie. The entire cast is really good. Some recognizable faces from your other modern Western westerns, Hell or High Water, and No Country for Old Men. And it's just really cool to see a lot of these performances on display because it's a bunch of people in one location. They're stuck there because they're waiting on gas to show up. But there are 2 bank robbers in the midst of these really good people. Well, actually, there are 2 others. They maybe don't have the best intentions, and maybe some of them are selfish, and maybe they're not all really good people. Maybe it's just a bunch of crazy people in a diner. But I really love the way this played out. It has that modern Western feel to it, but there's also a mystery element. It's thrilling at times. It all runs and flows through the dialogue. I really like the script. Some of the character decisions, especially towards the end, I was questioning. I didn't feel like we got all we needed from a script perspective, and so it does somewhat struggle in that way. But I had a heck of a time watching this. This is my type of movie, and I'm going last stop in Yuma County. I was going to go good tier. I'm going great tier, just because I'm really feeling this film.
That's me, Colt Sievers, and this is my hero's journey.
How about The Fall Guy? The combination of David Leitch, who just did Bullet Train, which I was a huge fan of, Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. I was so pumped for this movie and pumped to recognize the stunt men and women that oftentimes go overlooked in Hollywood, and they got some real recognition in this film. But really it was the marketing for this film and some of those stunts they were pulling off on the red carpet and things like that. That was really, really fun. Now, are there stunts in this movie? Yeah. Are they really fun to watch? Absolutely. There isn't necessarily one that is super memorable, and that's why I was a little like, oh man, I wanted this to have that one or two moments that resonated and stuck out. But honestly, I thought there were better stunts in Bullet Train. Now, the story itself revolves around this stuntman that Gosling plays effortlessly, and without him in that lead role, maybe I don't like this movie as much because he was amazing. But the romance between he and Blunt, while really interesting and entertaining, the chemistry wasn't entirely there, and that felt a little half-baked because they don't spend a lot of time on screen together, and sometimes you don't have to do that. But the main mission here of Gosling's character was kind of mediocre and a little forgettable, and ultimately, I didn't connect to the story here. It was more, oh, here's some fun action sequences, here are some great stunts, here's a great lead character, he's awesome, but I didn't really like the story, and I didn't care about the trajectory of the story, and ultimately, I wasn't really in it with this movie. I wasn't super connected, and so some great aspects, some great elements, but I was a little disappointed in The Fall Guy, and so that's why I'm going to put it on the okay tier. It's fun, but I didn't connect.
Good morning, Atlas. Time to wake up.
I'm awake.
Atlas. Oh, boy. The J-Lo stans found me. They found me on Twitter, or he or she found me. It was one person that ran like 7 different accounts, and I figured it out because they would always retweet each other from the same account, and I get it. It could be just a group of stupid people, but it felt like one stupid person, and they all talked the same way. Like one account said hun, and the other account said honey, and it was spelled Hunnie, and I'm like, oh, that's the same person. Or they're all just twins. Weird robotic twins that love Jennifer Lopez and won't acknowledge that she's a part of a film. So, and they're like, your opinion doesn't mean anything. And I'm like, so we're going to listen to a Jennifer Lopez fan account about the movie that Jennifer Lopez starred in and try to take your opinion seriously, even though it's very obviously that you're going to like it, no matter what. I mean, if the movie was just Jennifer Lopez taking a for an hour, you would tell me it was great. So don't sit here and act like you're going to give this any type of criticism because you're not, because you're a fan account, okay?
Jesus Christ.
I don't hate Jennifer Lopez. I respect her. I just don't think she's very good in this movie, and I don't think this movie is creative or as creative as it wants to be or needs to be. It wastes really good actors, good performances, maybe. Sterling K. Brown's good, but he's not in the movie all that much, and it doesn't really know what to do with his characters. And when it does, and we get some good dialogue from Jennifer Lopez and the robot conversing, going back and forth, that lasts for 45 minutes. She's sitting in this robot for like 45 minutes, and I'm like, are we going to move forward? Like, if you had fun with it, that's fine. It's mindless entertainment at best, but I thought Atlas was absolutely terrible. It is just the most conventional AI sci-fi film I think I've ever seen in my life. I'm putting it on the awful tier. There you go, Lopez fans.
Are you familiar with the concept of
Evolution.
Are we going to get some more greatness? I need some greatness. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Is it a slow-moving introduction to this new/old world just hundreds of years later, obviously, that provides some great moments? Absolutely. But it is one that moves slow, and that's fine. I felt as if that was warranted and justified because we are getting to know where this world is right now, and Noah is a compelling lead character. My biggest issue with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was our human character that, and it's not that she's bad, it's just, it wasn't the best performance I've ever seen, but even further than that, it's a character that's not explored like she makes some decisions in the third act, not explored to the level that I thought she should have been. And when we get to that ending, a lot of it culminates around her and Noah, but I felt that side of the story was shortchanged. And so this could have been on the same level as something like A War for the Planet of the Apes. Unfortunately, it fell just a bit short of that because of the lack of depth to one side of the story. But there are about 3 or 4 other sides that are fantastic. Noah and his friends, which I would have liked to have seen a bit more of, but his journey, who he meets, who he comes across, some of these characters, like the villainous side of things, Proximus Caesar, was amazing. This is what I wanted. The visuals are spectacular, top-notch, the atmosphere, the world building, the style. I really thought Westball nailed all of that and gave us a setup for something that ultimately could be the next great Planet of the Apes trilogy. That's why I'm going great tier for Kingdom.
We've come too far. Furiosa!
And finally, Furiosa, the Mad Max saga movie that at first I'm like, I don't know if we need that. I don't know if that's necessary. It's a prequel. Prequels usually aren't all that great, but this is the year or 6-month span of the prequel that does feel necessary, like Wonka. I was surprised by that film, the latest Hunger Games, the latest Saw movie, and now Furiosa that proved it was necessary, or it has been all along, because George Miller wrote this character a backstory very clearly and has been elevating it for years, and it took, 9 years for this movie to come out. You can feel that while you're watching, that they took all of the time that they needed to flesh these things out. And yeah, it's got a little CGI and some green screen. Well, guess what? Most of it's amazing, beautiful practical effects. Most of the visual effects, the CGI looks spectacular. A couple of shots that aren't great, but that's because you're comparing it to the rest of the movie that looks flawless, as opposed to a lot of blockbusters nowadays that's mostly that. And so, yeah, it's going to stand out a little bit more. I thought this story as a saga worked beautifully. It's an amazing journey. She's an amazing character. But even then, like Furiosa stole Fury Road, Chris Hemsworth's character, Dementis, stole Furiosa, and he gives one of the best performances of his entire career. I've even argued it may be his best. And so this film was awesome. I can't wait to watch it again. The aesthetic, the world building, the look, the feel, the atmosphere has everything you need in an awesome movie, and I've talked about it several times now, so I'm going to put it on the awesome tier. I love me some Furiosa. A lot of movies on this list. Before I rank them, let me know, did I miss one down below? What is your favorite of this month? And if you like this series, dropping a thumbs up is the best way, well, really, to help this channel. All right, at the bottom, good Lord. Well, we know we're going to start with Atlas. Let's follow that up with Unfrosted, and then I'm going to go tear it slightly below The Strangers, but they're both pretty much on the same level. At the bottom of the bad tier, sorry, Chris Pine, we have Poolman, followed by Garfield, and then back to black. Sasquatch Sunset, congratulations, your weirdness put you at the top. On the meh tier, I'm going to go If, followed by I Saw the TV Glow, and then one that almost got there, In a Violent Nature. Okay tier, surprisingly enough, I think The Idea of You I resonated with just a bit more, so I'm going to put that over The Fall Guy. On the great tier, this one's actually fairly close, but I'm going to give the edge to Kingdom over Last Stop in Yuma County. Of course, Furiosa is the best movie of the month. One of the best movies, in my opinion, of the year. It's in my top 3. I absolutely loved it, but those top 3 are all great, really high-quality films. But obviously, I think I expected a little more out of May. Some of these movies disappointed me. Some of these more artistic films fell way short of expectations. So June, we've got a lot of making up to do, man, because that was kind of rough beyond that top 3. So Thanks for watching. Were you more positive than I was? Probably. I appreciate it. Stay tuned because I'm actually watching The Acolyte right now, and I'll have my first reaction either later today or tomorrow, as well as some really interesting videos posted early next week, and The Hitman, which I saw, but I'm going to count it as a June movie. All right, see you in those videos.